Hello and welcome to another edition of the ICA Sports and Fitness Science Council podcast, part of the ICA, the International Chiropractic Association's Chirocast. I'm Brad Holzabus. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois, and I'm a board member of the ICA Sports and Fitness Science Council. We started this podcast a while back because we wanted to introduce people in chiropractic and sports and fitness world to everybody. Let you know who's out there, who you can meet, who you can talk to. And so for almost 2 years now, I've been doing this podcast. And today I wanted to take a time out and look back at some of our previous guests and make sure that you get to know them. And maybe if you enjoy this little clip, maybe you want to go back and watch or listen to the original episode, which I highly encourage you to do because we've had some amazing people join our podcast over the years. And so the first guest that I want to talk about is one that's been on a couple times. You see, I got into the world of chiropractic and sports because I take care of the local hockey team in my town, the Rockford Ice Hogs. And now they're an AHL team. We work with the Chicago Blackhawks. And I joined the Professional Hockey Chiropractic Society of all the pro hockey chiropractors. And one of the guys behind that is Dr. Alan Palmer. And so I got to sit down and meet Dr. Alan Palmer, interview him. He's also a big figure behind the Pro Baseball Chiropractic Society. So let's take a listen and meet Alan.
I met Dr. Rick Bishop at Pro Sport, and we got to talking, and he said, why don't we start that back up again and get it going? And I said, he didn't have kids at the time. He wasn't working with any teams. And I said, you're going to have to take the helm, and I'll help you with everything. And so we started the Professional Baseball Chiropractic Society. We did an annual workshop every year at a spring training facility. We'd alternate between Florida and Arizona and have our educational workshops there for the chiropractors in major and minor league baseball. And then about 6-7 years ago, I said, why don't I take this template then and create the Professional Hockey Chiropractic Society? Need is on the baseball side with the PBCS. We've been able to add over 30 chiropractors to minor league teams. So we have an initiative there for the last few years where we help to identify qualified chiropractors and interview them first and do all our due diligence, check their background, check their board record. And then for the most qualified of those, we give them over to the team head athletic trainer or the medical director, whoever it is with the team, the major league team. And then they filter that down to their minor league coordinators and they do the interviews. And we've been able to place a lot. It is a unique setting. In our own offices, we are the gatekeepers, right? We call the shots and we direct care and we dabble into other things, different types of modalities and treatments and nutrition and various things. But when we're in that setting, we have to realize we have to stick to our wheelhouse and until you develop relationships with the medical staff and the trainers and everything to where they begin to trust you more and more. They know more about your skill set and then they'll let you a lot of times expand that repertoire a little bit. But of course, when it comes to nutrition, of course, too, you have to, with all the anti-doping things and everything having to be NSF certified for sport, you got to make sure you can't make recommendations that are outside what are approved or you could get in trouble and the player throws a positive test or something, you could be in big trouble just for recommending something that isn't on their approved list.
This is an ICA podcast, and I go to Palmer College after this right in my backyard. And a lot of people hear that I'm a sports chiropractor, and they think that means I gave up on that word subluxation. Because I'm in a sporting environment. And you could speak of this too. That word definitely still exists in the sporting world, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is fundamental to what we do. And I've had conversations recently. We've been trying to fill the spot with the Montreal Canadiens. They do not have a chiropractor. So we've been working behind the scenes to try to work through their medical director and so forth to see if we could introduce one of our chiropractors as a possible position there. And as it turns out, he came back and said that they have a physical therapist that manipulates and that some of the key players on the team are really comfortable with this individual and so forth. And so I've had some conversations even with your associate Nate this morning, telling him the story that because this all really just transpired and that they just don't understand that what we do is so different. It's not just moving bones or popping bones or manipulation. It's specific. It's a specific assessment, a specific line of drive, depth of thrust, corrective measure that is so different than what is often done in the training room when athletic trainers or PTs are trying to manipulate players. And they don't understand the power of it, first of all. They don't understand that you're not just trying to get a kink out of their back. You're trying to enhance the performance of the nervous system and the function of the individual overall as a whole. And so that gets lost there. And it's sad because players really have no appreciation for that, and they're not being educated about it. So they have no idea. They think in their mind that they're maybe getting the same thing that they would be getting from a doctor of chiropractic, and it's not true. It's just not the same.
Well, that was great. Now, through the Pro Hockey Chiropractic Society, I also got to meet many more of our guests. The next one is Dr. Brent Winchester. Dr. Winchester, I met at the Pro Hockey Chiropractic Society down in Dallas when we were down there. He's currently from the St. Louis area. He's very involved in the Motion Palpation Institute. So let's hear a little bit from Dr. Winchester. This was a fun interview.
Brant, yeah, my name is Brett Winchester. I have a practice outside St. Louis, Missouri. I work a lot with professional hockey players and professional baseball players, and I've been in practice now 23 years. And my background is I'm on the board for the Motion Palpation Institute, which is a manipulation technique system, and then also DNS. And DNS is going to be one of my focuses for the talk that we have coming up in Dallas. One of my focuses is going to be like a multimodal approach for the hockey athlete, how we combine rehab techniques with manipulation, with soft tissue. In saying that, kind of one of the overreaching themes will be how we use the principles of dynamic neuromuscular stabilization with the hockey athlete. So there's a lot of implications with skating and shooting, and really the slap shot or the snapshot. A lot of the mechanics are real similar to the golf swing. So one of our jobs as a chiropractor to make sure that our athlete's body are able to get full expression of motion. And when we do have full expression of motion, also being sure that our central nervous system is able to control these ranges of motion. And that's where I think manipulation and DNS and everything that a lot of the people that are going to be there already know, when that's all combined together, you are really creating the gold standard for what we want out of not just our hockey athletes, but our athletes in general. So I think a lot of times people understand this, but sometimes it's helpful to see exactly how it's being integrated on a day-to-day basis. I know you're getting the same question too. What most, especially the younger clinicians, want to know is, how do you get involved with a team? And what I tell everyone is you got to start with the person that's in front of you. So you got to get a great result with the Little League hockey player before you even start the conversation of working with a professional hockey player. So you got to have the tools, and you got to understand the lingo. And one thing that did surprise me a little bit, I have an intern right now who's from Canada. Like, they're enamored with being in the locker room. And one of our sessions is actually going to be in the training room at the Dallas Stars facility. So I just think if you love hockey, it's just such a great, as you were mentioning before, access to just a lot of cool things if you're into pro hockey.
I always tease that I've always found this a way to talk to athletes compared to a grandma that comes in your office, because the athlete, their only asset they have in life is their body, because they've invested everything they have, their time, their energy, everything, all their focus on making their body a finely tuned machine. And there's a skill to that. Would you agree with me on that? Being able to talk to an athlete?
Oh, 100%. Whether they will admit it or not, because they're a professional athlete, they're a Ferrari. And the chiropractor has so many tools to allow them to perform like a Ferrari does. If you're 60-year-old, nothing's wrong with a Ford Escort, but it's just a little bit, it's a different beast. Yeah, so you're working with Ferraris, and our job is to make sure they can perform like a Ferrari.
Next, I want to introduce you to Dr. Casey Bunz. Dr. Casey Bunz and I first met each other through a recruiting session on a golf course driving range for Palmer College. He's currently at Palmer College working with some of the students there, teaching them about taking care of patients in the sports and fitness world. And I'm an alumni from Palmer, and so this event was near my house, so we all got together. And Dr. Bunz was there because he's part of the Titleist Performance Institute. He has that certification. And I want him to maybe teach us a little bit about this cool program they created to help people with their chiropractic and golfers. Let's take a listen.
Right now I am currently in Davenport, Iowa, working for the Palmer Clinics, and originally from the state of Iowa. I had a practice for 10 years after graduating chiropractic school up in Mankato, Minnesota, where I had the opportunity to work with teams of hockey players, track athletes, football players. But one thing that I've always gravitated towards is the sport of golf. It's something that I've competed at even at a young age with, and that led to more interest in that through my career within chiropractic at the same time.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about that golf thing. I know as here in my clinic, we see a lot of guys that go out and golf too much, and I always try to explain to them that you shouldn't hurt the day after you golf. That's not normal. That's not right. And so you've been involved in the game of golf, and there's a special program you're in that you've learned more about the game of golf. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, early on in practice, I graduated in 2011, and in 2012, I got my level 1 TPI certification. TPI stands for the Titleist Performance Institute, and at that time, all of the seminars were in person with it, but I had the opportunity to meet Greg Rose and Dave Phillips, the founders of TPI, down in Phoenix. And initially when I had found that, it was the interest in my own golf game, right? So how can I make my one piece of equipment better? And that one piece of equipment is more or less the body. It doesn't change from year to year. You can't get a new driver, or you can't get a new body like you can a new driver. So how can I make that one piece of equipment last for as long as it can? How can I increase the capacity of it? How can I just make that better for my own golf game? So it was a little bit of selfish introduction. What can I do for myself? And ultimately that led to using that and utilizing that skill of working with golfers and knowing a little bit more about the biomechanics of the overhead rotational athlete to incorporate that with a lot of other athletes, that it isn't just golfers. It's very similar to whether you're playing with a tennis racket, a baseball bat, even a pitcher. So that's the road that it took me to be introduced to TPI. And then later, which I wish I would have incorporated the level 2 and level 3 portion of that for the medical level 2 and medical level 3, because they've got different tracks within it. Incorporated that a little bit earlier in my career, because that is also another massive amount of knowledge for your rotational athletes, your golfers. That includes a lot of functional movements, sport specific to golf, and as well as a good evaluation for really any athlete at a lot of different levels. Once they get onto the golf course and they get that club in their hands, that can be something, that's the only thing that they think about. That's the only thing that they talk about. And so then when they talk to their other friends, you get that one golfer that tends to be that social butterfly at the club. That can be very beneficial for you, right? A lot of times what you want to do when it comes to that marketing aspect, when it comes to the golf side of things, is know who's going to be talking to your golfers too. Those are going to be your club pros. It's an aspect within TPI, within that golf community too. And that's another hallmark of TPI, is they've got different tracks for different people, right? You've got your golf coaches, you've got your fitness professionals, your personal trainers, physical therapists, chiropractors fit into that medical branch side of it. But it's that team approach to working with that golfer, that as you work together, that the medical professional is going to be more of the trying to figure out what is going on within the body. The fitness professional, they're going to be the ones trying to increase the capacity as long as everything's moving well from a mobility and stability standpoint. And then the golf coach is going to be like he's the crew chief. He's the one that's driving that golfer and sending him in the right direction. He just needs to know from the medical and fitness professional, is this person doing something that's going to hurt themselves from a movement pattern standpoint, and can we do this other aspect from the fitness standpoint to help increase swing speed, power, whatever it happens to be. So it's that mentality of working with other professionals that can also build that practice as well, because that club pro is going to be like, hey, I know this chiropractor, I know this physical therapist, I know this personal trainer, they work really well with my golfers, I'm going to send them your way. So it's building that relationship with those head club pros as well.
Now the next person we talked to, Dr. Kristen Wilmuir, I think I'm saying that right, I'm trying really hard, she knows I am. Now, she's a physician, but she's not a chiropractor. She's actually I like to call her a brain doctor. She studies lots of neurology. And we know that chiropractors are doing some amazing things with athletes today with head injuries and concussion and subconcussive forces. And she sat down and she's worked with chiropractors, with athletes, and she wanted to share her story, some of the stuff that she's come across over the years. Let's take a listen.
I have been a fan of chiropractic for 30 years, and you and I have discussed, so I was a competitive equestrian. I showed horses at the A level for over 10 years. My trainer son has been on the U.S. Olympic team, so I trained at a very high level, and I've had my fair share of injuries participating in the sport. So I've had a chiropractor as part of my sort of healthcare team, like I said, for 3 decades. And as you and I and Dr. Jackson know, when anybody's participating in these contact or collision-based sports, you're not only taking impact to the brain, but it's also having a significant impact on the spinal column. And it takes as little as 4.5 Gs of force to be able to potentially impact the head, neck, and spine. And in football, when we're using the accelerometers to measure the G forces, they start at 10 Gs and go higher. But truth be told, any impact to the brain or body is causing an impact also to the spinal cord. So I feel chiropractic care is essential in restoring and rehabilitating healthy brain function. So we're partners, like we should be collaborating. And again, now that I'm talking and because I've done research with Dr. Jackson, I'm, thinking about maybe how we could do something with the hockey players.
Absolutely. And others people listening to this, links will be here. So I know other sports are listening.
Excellent.
I met Dr. Longyear a few years ago, and he told me that you cannot have a head injury without a neck injury. So it's obviously we go hand in hand. So
you go hand in hand, and I'm glad that people are finally starting to recognize this. People are now fully acknowledging when you participate in these sports, the biomechanical forces are having an impact on shearing and tearing neurons and blood vessels. The brain is very resilient, so a lot of times people don't have symptoms, but even if you're asymptomatic, those changes are happening in the brain. And that's the beauty of having sophisticated neuroimaging technology. We see it, whether it's using diffusion tensor imaging or the SPECT imaging or the QEEGs. What I love about the athletes now, they can take this information and can use it to do targeted therapies to the brain, again, both for rehabilitation and peak performance. I published a book with HarperCollins in 2020 called Biohack Your Brain. And the reason why I wrote that book was for the football players, because at that point I'd worked with hundreds of these professional athletes, and I was truly amazed at the restorative capacity of the brain. I wasn't aware that we could really improve blood flow to the brain that was long lasting, because in our clinic we would image the players at 6 months, 12 months, a year out, 2 years out, and they were able to hold these restorative patterns. So I wrote the book really in honor of my players, and every chapter has an NFL story as well as a patient story. And the book is really about teaching people how to take care of their brain health, what we do in the clinic, but they give the foundational tools that everybody can start using now. And then if they need the additional care, that's where they can reach out to me and or any of my colleagues, and we can take a deeper dive and really look at the brain structures. What has changed in the brain and what can we help improve? Collaborating for people like me who use neuroimaging with these contact sports athletes, to be able to do collaborative work with you would be extraordinary. And I'm already connected with so many sports teams and athletes. So I think I'm just going to put it out there. If you would like to do some type of collaborative project through my foundation, you're welcome to reach out. And I'm also here to answer any questions that, if I can be of help to you in your practice, please don't hesitate to reach out. We always tell our patients, you are not stuck with the brain you have. You can change it at any age. I've even seen this with patients in their 80s and 90s. And I know those patients still come and get chiropractic care as well, because I've seen the pictures on Dr. Jackson's website. So thank you for the great work that you're doing. Thank you to the chiropractic community. And it's an honor to be connected with you and be a collaborative partner.
Next is a good friend of mine, Justin Kegley. Justin Kegley is a local Rockford guy like myself, and he developed a unique niche. So if you're a varsity athlete and you blow your ACL, physical therapy only pays for you to walk again, but not be a varsity athlete again. And so he created this niche where he works with athletes from physical therapy back to being a varsity athlete. Along the way, he discovered that you don't have to be injured to get better. He takes care of people without an injury. I just want to run faster, jump better, be better. And so him and I co-care a lot of athletes together, and he's written some really cool books. He gets asked the same questions a lot about nutrition and diet, so he decided just to break down and just write a book on that topic. And I wanted to sit down with him and get some basic advice for chiropractors to share with their youth athletes on how to eat better. Because we know eat right, move right, think right, be healthy, thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So let's meet with Justin Kigley and talk a little bit about the toxins or lack of nutrition that we need. Our team doctors for the Ice Hogs used to work for the Bulls, and he was telling us how Derrick Rose blew his knee out and he could never heal until one day they figured out that he never learned how to eat right. Growing up with a single mom on the south side of Chicago, only 1 year of college for these guys, and then right into the NBA. His whole locker was full of candy and junk food in his car, junk food wrappers. So the Bulls actually made him hire a full-time nutritionist to take care of all of his meals because, I mean, you tell us how important nutrition is when it comes to healing.
Well, for sure. This is a big issue, right? So we talk about a lot with our athletes. Number one, we want to help them to understand, first off, fundamentally, just number one, basal metabolic rates, because athletes don't understand that their body is always working, right? It's always their lungs are breathing and their brain is working and the digestive system's working, but they don't understand that. And then they go out and they put out massive efforts in practice. They're going to do trainings. They're going to practice. They're going to do a second sport potentially in the same day. Teams, youth sports has continued to explode in popularity. And so the challenge is our athletes are not eating enough. And so we know that they're at a greater risk of getting injured. And then when they do get injured, not understanding the importance of increasing your protein intake to help, the muscles to start to heal or whatever their injury is, to help them to start to get on the path to recovery. And it's just a constant battle for us. So this is something we have to continue to push in with them and help them to understand what do meals look like? How do we prioritize, things for us? We always prioritize a protein first strategy for them to help them understand the fundamentals. We know that carbohydrates are going to fuel their system and fuel their energy, and fats as well is going to help be protective for them. But just getting them to understand basically that you can't just eat the school lunch or go to the vending machine and pick out things because, like you said, the pizza, they're not drinking, beer, hopefully, but, the pizza aspect of, after a game before that's just the way it was. It's like, well, it's a lot of calories. Well, yeah, but so many of our kids are playing at a high level and they want to compete at a higher level, but they're not fueling themselves for that. So they leave themselves open to injury. And if they do get hurt, unfortunately, they're not going to recover as fast. Helping kids understand that they're not just, when we look at travel sports right now, they're traveling everywhere, right? And the problem is, number one, let's make sure that's not the mentality of like, this is a vacation. Because if you're doing this every weekend, it's not a vacation. This is a big portion of your life. If you go for the weekend, that's going to be 35% of your week by the time you go Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. So helping them understand like portion sizes, so like the palm is going to be equal to a serving of protein, and everybody, we have our palms. And so you look at that and you go, all right, for females, it could be 1 to 1.5, right? So you're looking, yeah, exactly. 1 to 1.5 serving size for a female athlete, 1.5 to 2, depending on what type of athlete a male is. If you have somebody who's an offensive lineman or someone that's bigger, that may be a little bit bigger portion size, but overall, helping them understand that that's what that would look like. If you're going to get a piece of fish, you're going to get some chicken, you're going to get some ground beef, steak, whatever it is, at least have an idea of how much it is. So that way, if you're consuming enough. You talked about, for us, we have, supplements and products that we believe in here. And one of them is First Form. They just came out with, well, they've had it for a little bit, but they're beef sticks, which has about 18 grams of protein per serving. You go, look, it's a pretty clean product overall. And so that's something for us to go, look, take something like this with you, right? If you're going to have a snack that's going to be a little more complete, and you compare that hopefully with a carbohydrate, and you go, look, I know that we're not able to put together a perfect plan based off of everything that we know about them, but we can help them to educate them to understand what they need to do so that they're properly fueled, they're recovering after a game, a training, a session, and reducing that overall risk of injury.
Next is a patient I've known forever. I've taken care of her since she was very young. Her name's Kate Dennis. Kate's a Division I basketball player. Now, when Kate came out of high school, she had about 20 Division I scholarship offers to play basketball. And Kate's been adjusted her whole life, and I've been a big part of that for many of the years, and watched her grow up and go on to college and stuff. And when I was at Kate's basketball game, when she played nearby where I live, there was somebody actually hurt her. And you'll see what happened, because Kate's from a long line of chiropractors, so the moment she got hurt, I was called into action. Kate does a better job telling the story. Let's hear it from Kate.
We played at Northern a few months ago, and I was out on the court and I had a collision with this one girl and kind of, I don't know if it was like whiplash at my neck or we kind of collided neck and neck, and it immediately felt super off. I was nervous in the moment because I was like, oh my gosh, head injuries and neck stuff is nothing to be messed with. So got up, was feeling a little bit off, and I believe my grandma came over and was like, Brant, like, we need you to get down there to help Kate. And so I believe that they had said something to my coach and were like, listen, we need her to come over here see Dr. Brant. And you fixed me right up. I was feeling a little bit dizzy when after the hit and felt a little bit off and some pain and tension in my neck. But after you had adjusted me, I felt so much better and was able to play the rest of that game. And so I was super grateful for that, because who knows if that was anywhere else, what it could have been. I could have, had to sit out maybe that game and wait till I got to see a chiropractor in Athens, so super grateful that that was the case for that. But you're able to fix me right up very quickly. So
Well, what's funny about that is your grandmother didn't come over and ask me. Your grandmother
yeah,
came over and told me
directed you.
that I had
Yeah.
to be, yeah, get up and get over there and get her adjusted. And it was funny because your grandmother's dad was a
Mhm.
chiropractor,
Mhm.
and his parents were chiropractors,
Yes.
and their mother graduated chiropractic school in like 1926. Now let's talk about Coach Lopez. Coach Mike Lopez, not a chiropractor, but he loves chiropractic care. And he has this unique opportunity to be coaching football in Mexico City. And I'm not talking soccer, I'm talking about American football. So he's down in Mexico doing this, and he got to know one of our other board members, Dr. Kevin Jackson, very well. And they came up with a neat idea. They thought a lot of people where he lives in Mexico City need to see a chiropractor, but have never heard or been able to see a chiropractor before. So they came up with a program where he uses his athletes to help organize a huge event for the Life West chiropractic students. Take a look at Coach Lopez. When you watch Coach Lopez, I want you to observe his passion for what we do as chiropractors.
The authorities here at the university that I work with and I partner up with a lot, they're really helpful. But LifeWest was just really open to the fact of, bringing their interns down and do a mission and, help humanity and serve and all those words that sometimes they sound, like I said, cliches a little bit. They're just so beautiful because this is what they do. And that's how my relationship began with them right before COVID. And now we're on like our 11th mission coming up in September. That's been my relationship, really beautiful to work with them and partner with them and serve with them. The best way I could describe is serving through chiropractor with Life West. A lot of their students are like in their last phase before graduating, becoming doctors. It's like, it's a great mission for them. It's a great experience for them. So it's not just great. It's been a blessing, Dr. Brant.
To a
The
chiropractor?
experience I've had here is we've had a lot of Korean natural treatment type with acupuncture and other uh, alternative medicine that they do. And there's some chiropractors here, but there is no university that's certified. So there's different, maybe a couple of U.S. doctors all over the country here. This country's so huge that they don't have enough. But the experience I've had is that there hasn't been that many, solidified chiropractor like U.S. working on the brain and the neuro part. And here is just like putting bones in place. And during my little spiel and speech before we start the event, I usually have a crowd there, Dr. Brandt, and I'll kind of share it with them what we're going to do, and I'll bring out the skeleton and all these great doctors have shared with me, about the spinal cord and what we're going to do and the nerves and how it works. And you're telling these people that have never heard of it. So what I joke with them as I tell them is, we're going to crack your bones today. And they laugh because they do a lot of cracking bones here. So then I said, not really. It's a joke. These are, doctors that are studying, part of your brain and how we're going to trigger your brain so that your work, your body and your mind and your spirit, everything works well in the way it should be. So I think I try to get better at it so I can share with them, Dr. Brandt, as far as during that speech and not scare them. And, they're going to see these doctors and they see these young doctors, they're about to graduate. And I try to share as much as I can with them And it's once those students intern see 5,000 people outside Dr. Brandt, they get scared. It's all these people coming in line because they're used to adjusting maybe 5 to 10 people a week, and
Yeah.
it's just been a experience for them, but for myself, because I have to adjust myself and adapt to how fast we're going, slow the crowd down. Um, the crowd, I think, has been really been curious with watching firsthand how everybody's curiosity here in Mexico is. They haven't really ever seen 25 chiropractic interns at one place, and I think that's what makes it fascinating. It makes it great. It makes news. I mean, it gets so big with the government officials that do that. They'll bring the newspapers, they'll bring the news, they make it a big event, and they're really really proud and really honored for these interns to come down, Dr. Brandt. So it makes it a huge event for them and the university. There hasn't been one of these missions where I haven't almost started crying when I see. It doesn't have to be an older lady. It doesn't have to be an older man. It could be a young kid. Couldn't hear. And I would hear these stories in Dr. Brandt, not until I see it myself and I have it on, recorded, and you have your testimonies, and you're like, oh my God, I go, the chiropractic is a lot more than what I ever thought of. So you're changing lives, and you're giving them a better quality of life, and you see them, and we have so many repeat people. They're always asking, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? Because it's a 3-day session. It's hard to get anybody really fixed or adjusted well. Some people come with a lot of issues, but I think as long as you touch one person's life, which I think these interns do, I mean it's been worth it. And there's a lot of the cliches that we're talking about, Dr. Brandt, when you say, "Oh, it's wonderful, it's great." No, I mean you have to see it, you have to experience it. And I've had a tough time being this tough coach and trying to be, play college football in the U.S. and around NFL players, and when we're humans, and when you see somebody get healed, or chiropractic does so much, and that's what I love getting back and doing this. It's an honor to do it, and the the government at the end of every mission, they always want to give Coach Mike the credit, and I'm just not into that, Dr. Brent. The interns did it, Life West did it, Dr. Ron Oberstein, spearheaded this, Dr. Jackson. Everybody has, you know, everybody has a role, and all these kids don't realize what an impact they had on a lot of lives. And I think that's the culture experience is one thing, that they don't speak Spanish, or some of them do, and by the third day they don't have to tell them, volteate, turn around, we have an interpreter there with them, but it's so great for them. And then you see those patients come back, Dr. Brent, and give them a gift, give them a hug.
Yeah. Now let's talk about another chiropractor, Dr. Nick Athens. Now, Dr. Nick Athens is kind of famous in the chiropractic world, especially in the late 80s. He got to do a chiropractic adjustment that almost everybody got to see. It was on the most popular TV show of all time, the Super Bowl, taking care of Joe Montana. I don't want to tell the story, though. Let's have Dr. Athens tell us. Dr. Athens, you want to say hello and tell us where you practice and a little background about yourself?
Thank you for having me, Doc. Appreciate it. Been in San Carlos, California for 43 years. Graduated from Palmer College Chiropractic in 1982 and started out from scratch. And I've been out in California ever since then. And here to share some wisdom and some experience that I've had over the years with fellow chiropractors, fellow DCs, fellow ICA members. And I love being a member of the ICA, and I really like their mission and I like their purpose. One moment in time, and sports comes down to one play, and one play can create history, and one play can have a demise of a team. In this case, talk about in the book, I pretended I was a press personnel, and at the Super Bowl media day, I pretended I was a press person, and I talk about it more in the book. But the book's called To Health with You, and in essence, Joe Montana ended up doing a pre-game Super Bowl adjustment that got about over $2 million worth of free publicity. And then the USA Today did a big story. That was back in 1990. We got like almost $4 million worth of free publicity for the chiropractic profession. It was the launching pad to help the chiropractic profession get into the sports world, which they've been striving for a long time. And I was just happy to be a part of that. And I was able to make a play, as the athletes say on the field, that helped launch the profession to another level in the sports field. Now, most chiropractors are on sports teams, and they're in the Major League Baseball, and they're in NFL and hockey teams. So glad to see chiropractors part of the healthcare team to keep these athletes on the field. They just have bad posture, bad habits. They sit on bad couches, bad mattresses. They sit and slouch play video games. These are athletes who are young ages that they do, and that could lead to, when they sprint 20 miles an hour in the field, that could lead to injuries. So if you could help them with lifestyle habits off the field, it can help them on the field. And ironically, about 72% of pro football injuries are non-contact injuries. A lot of people don't even realize that. So people who pull their groins and hamstrings and calves and Achilles and all that, really no one really touched them. So the question is, how are these athletes getting hurt without getting touched? So what are they doing off the field that create injuries on the field? And nobody really looks at that. And if that's the case, you could actually cut down an injury to 28% by just playing football. So he's a perfect example because we took his bad habits, we corrected them. He already stays fit. All professional athletes are strong. I've never met a weak professional athlete. They just have bad habits off the field and nobody guided them in the right direction to realize that these could lead to injuries. And that's where a chiropractor come in and be a part of that program to help them go in the right direction. And he's a perfect example because now he's still doing really well. He's the only actually person doing well in the offense. And hopefully he wins the Comeback Player of the Year award, and he wins a big award, which would show how chiropractic turned his whole career around, and fixing his lifestyle can add to that also, and giving him that guidance. So the chiropractic profession can help people, these athletes, physically and mentally, and it keeps them on the field more than anything else I've seen. So as long as they're proactive with it, and he gets adjusted twice a week to keep his body in the field. And if athletes want to stay on the field, they should use chiropractic as part of their game plan to keep them there. A lot of chiropractors are on sports teams, but sometimes these athletes want more of a concierge service to make sure that they have their own team taking care of them. And I think that might be going in that direction. So you're going to have team chiropractors, and then you have concierge chiropractors that take care of athletes individually, that have their own team to take care of them, to keep them going in the right direction. That's what I'm seeing in sports.
I try to explain to them most of what I do is during the week or before the game, trying to get these guys into peak performance. And you probably find that to be very true too. It's more about getting the guys to peak performance than it is running in there when they have a tight neck.
You could get them to perform and get rid of bad habits initially, they could hold up a lot better on the sport they're performing at. And it's all about execution, Doc. In the sport, you have to execute. And if you don't make plays, you don't win. And you're cut, your contract, your whole team gets fired. Coaches get picked up. They have to go to other teams, try to get picked up. That's what they do. So it's all about execution. And it should be about execution as a chiropractor, too. You have to execute for the player. The chiropractor's job is to keep the player on the field so the player can execute and the sport they're doing. So it's two people executing at the highest level to help them perform at a high level, to help them win games.
Now, let's talk about a chiropractor that's very involved in the Baltimore area. Takes care of the Ravens, takes care of the Orioles, Dr. Allen. So I've seen him at Palmer College speak other places, and I get to meet him also with the Pro Hockey Chiropractic Society. He doesn't have a hockey team, but we brought him down because of all the great things he does with the Ravens and all the great stuff he does with the Baltimore Orioles. Let's take a listen to how he takes care of players.
There are so many more young hockey players than there are pro hockey players, but there aren't enough of us to cover that. But even if you're not into hockey, but you like that whole sports vibe, and like you said, not only sports vibe, but they're giving a real cool experience, behind the scenes stuff that you normally wouldn't see. And then the next time you watch a game, you see it differently because you understand little things that are going on. But be able to take everything that you just learned, go back to your underserved community and make a difference in your community, help save lives. Yeah, I do a whole talk on youth sports and the number of kids that are injured, the number of kids that are dying as a result of preventable sports injuries is horrible. Now, is that a chiropractor's job? Was that in my job description? Probably not. But think outside the friggin' box for a second and look at the impact you can make on your community as a doctor of chiropractic, knowledgeable, in sports, no matter what the sport is.
Now let's meet Dr. Eric Blum. Dr. Eric Blum is a former athlete that started taking care of athletes, especially in the swimming world. And he had some really unique opportunities to take chiropractic international, to introduce chiropractic to people that never would see chiropractic if it wasn't for athletes. Again, I talked earlier about my friend and my fellow board member, Dr. Kevin Jackson. And he's always the biggest advocate about how we can use sports and fitness world to educate more people on chiropractic and what chiropractors do. And Dr. Eric's done an amazing job of that. Let's listen to Dr. Eric in his own words.
So my experience at the Olympics kind of came on because of my background. So I walked on to the University of Arizona swim team. I was a swimmer. That was the plan. And freshman year, patella slipped behind my leg, ripped the quads, took me out of it, basically. But that's how I ended up eventually getting into chiropractic. And I started working with a lot of swimmers because that's what I knew. I could analyze stroke mechanics and different injuries and all that kind of fun stuff. And I actually contacted the coach at Arizona and started working with, I was practicing in LA. That's where I've been for 25 years. And whenever Arizona would go to LA for the Pac-10 tournament, he would have me go to Long Beach and take care of the team. And then in 2004, he had me go to Olympic trials with Amanda Beard and some of the other Olympians on the team. And then that kind of opened the doors for me, actually, and ended up working with USA Swimming. And then USC brought me in, and the coach had a ton of professional swimmers there from other countries, but they had no support staff. And I would start treating them and traveling a little. And this one guy, his name is Osmaluli. He's from Tunisia. He was the first gold medalist for all the Muslim countries. And he started taking the Jew around the world with him, basically. And we're like brothers. And that's how it opened up. But we've been to Dubai, Qatar, Turkey, South Korea, China, Japan twice, Portugal. And so during COVID, we went to Portugal for Olympic trials. He got accepted for his 5th Olympics, I believe. And then we went to Tokyo. And when you travel, you could go with a team and you're treating everyone. So USA Swimming took me to London one time, and you're working your butt off. You are not sleeping. You're with everyone. But the beauty of finding an individual is he was my only guy. So when we were in Dubai, we went skiing. When we were at the Olympics, we would go see different events. It's much more laid back, for sure. Look, for all the younger DCs out there, a lot of this is luck and who you know. It's not all the letters behind your name and all that kind of stuff. It's connections. So, man, back in, I don't even know, I'm going to say 2000 and whatever, 4-ish, I went to Vegas for a pro sport conference, met some guys there. One of them became a mentor, Dr. Alan Palmer, who's with the hockey and baseball. And I wasn't with a baseball team or anything, but he's like, come on, Eric, join. You do sports and this and that. And maybe 2 years later, I was up at for those who remember, a David Singer seminar up in San Francisco. And my phone rang and this guy's like, hi, I'm looking for Dr. Blum. And I'm like, speaking. He's like, hi, this is Steve Finley. I just got traded to the Dodgers. Can you come to the stadium tomorrow and treat me? I'm like, absolutely, I'll be there. Hopped on a plane, flew back to LA. Well, Steve got traded to the Dodgers, and Alan used to treat Steve, as well as another guy in Chicago, and they both gave him my number. Ironically, Steve was enrolled in chiropractic school. His background was kinesiology, and then he became a Major League Baseball player instead. But, anyways, he brought me in, and then the head trainer did not like chiropractors, but I was there for 2 years, and then he got traded. So the head trainer got let go. You got the phrase you need to know. Here's your phrase: stay in your lane. Know your lane, and that's all you do. So the Dodgers, look, they had PTs, ATCs, this person, that person, but they brought me in because they could not adjust. That's all they needed. So even though I could do more, I'm biting my tongue a lot, but that's what you do. It also depends on the team, because other teams will want your advice for stuff, and they'll have you doing the deep tissue work and assisting with other things. So every team is going to be different, basically. And that's, you just got to stay in your lane, though. That's the biggest thing. If you need to be humble, you need to sit back, keep your thoughts to yourself, because you're going to look. I had a PT in the training room coming to me saying, hey, can you teach me how to do this move? And it was like, I can't really, and it puts me in an awkward situation, because I want to be a team player, but at the same time, it's like, come on, dude, you guys don't get the same training we do. So you need to know how to do that.
Well, these are just some of our guests that we've had over the years. I want to take a time out and go back and look at some of them and give you each a little taste of these speakers and these amazing people that we've come across in the world of sports and chiropractic. I would ask you to go back and listen to those past episodes if you liked what you heard. And also, if you like this podcast, share it, like it, pass it around, subscribe, don't miss them. And you can always go to chiropractic.org, chiropractic.org, the international chiropractic website, to find our council and to get more information as we go. And we got big things coming. We got big talks coming. We're going to start coming to chiropractic campuses to meet you. I know we're signed up to be at the big Life event next fall. So I hope to meet more of you in person and talk to you, and maybe you'll want to be a guest or join us on a podcast in the future. Thanks for tuning in.